This demo covers how to apply big ground to a copper plate for printmaking. In this example, I will be baking the ground so that it may be used as a hard ground, but it can be used in many different ways for different processes. Do not try to apply ground to a plate that has not been properly degreased. This process should be done immediately after degreasing the plate. Otherwise, you risk dust and debris landing on the surface. For this process, you will need an ink slab, ink knife, brayer, ideally one that is larger than your plate, and big ground, which stands for Baldwin's Intaglio ground and is named for its inventor. You will also need watered-down dish soap, baby oil, scrap paper, and clean paper towels, and either a convection oven or a shallow cardboard box and hairdryer. Never trust a work surface and tools to be totally oil-free, especially if you are using a communal studio. Even at home, I clean my ink slab, brayer, and knife with a tiny amount of watered-down dish soap before working with big ground, which is extremely sensitive to oils and grease. Then dry with a clean paper towel. Once everything is clean, squirt out a marble-sized amount of big ground onto the slab. Then pull out a strip as you would for printing a relief plate. It was very cold when I filmed this demo, and I noticed that it made the ground sluggish, so I needed to work it a little bit more than usual with the knife. Roll out a square with the brayer. Keep it thin, you can always add more. If there are areas where the ground refuses to adhere to the ink slab or brayer, that is a good indicator that there is oil or grease present, and you will need to scrape up all the ground, clean everything thoroughly, and begin again. Big ground comes in two colors, black and red. Black is nice because the copper is easier to see when you draw through it, giving you a better sense of what the image looks like. Red is nice because you can draw freehand on the surface using a black litho crayon, which wouldn't be visible on the black. Because big ground is rolled onto the plate instead of painted, it is important that your edges are smoothly beveled. Using sandpaper on the bevel is a good added precaution to help protect your brayer. Ideally, your brayer should be wider than your plate so you can get an even application of ground. Mine is smaller. Because of this, I have found I typically need to apply more ground than is necessary to achieve even coverage, and then roll some of it off onto scrap paper. As you work, do not allow your fingers to make contact with the surface of the plate because they will leave a residue that either prevents the ground from adhering to the plate or causes the ground to lift off later during the etching process. Likewise, your plate should not have any residual whiting, dust, or other contaminants on it. Applying the ground in different directions helps prevent a single thick strip from building up along the middle of the plate. Do your best to remove brayer marks and get even coverage. Too much ground can be difficult to draw through and impede fluidity of line. I've also noticed that sometimes, if too much is applied, the underlayer doesn't cure and bond properly with the plate, causing it to lift off in the mordant. If the plate has been etched previously, you can use a piece of mat board to card the ground into the grooves, then smooth out the coverage using the brayer. If you are using a small brayer like mine, it's important to remove some of the excess ground. Do this by rolling off on a scrap of newsprint or phone book paper. Do not use a paper with lots of loose fibers that the roller may pick up and deposit onto your plate. You want thin but opaque coverage. Big ground cures when hot air is moved over the surface of the plate. The best way to do this is to set your plate inside of a convection oven set to 275 degrees for 6 minutes. If you don't have a convection oven, you can use a shallow cardboard box with a hole cut in the top. Set the plate inside and use a hairdryer to blow hot air over the surface. This takes roughly 15 to 20 minutes depending on the size of your box. The box should close to retain heat. If this is the first time you've used this box, blow the inside clean of dust and debris with the hairdryer before placing the plate inside. Alternative options include a toaster oven set to 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 8 minutes or a hot plate. Neither of these is ideal as air is not moving over the surface of the plate and it is difficult to achieve reliable results. Upon removal from the box or oven, your plate will still appear a bit tacky. Do not touch the surface at this point. Set it aside to cool for about 5 minutes. If you used the box, you can leave the plate inside to cool after turning off the hairdryer. Once cool, the plate should be smooth, hard, and dry to the touch. You will know your plate is not properly cured if, after cooling, the ground still has a waxy, tacky feeling. As with all grounds, avoid dramatic temperature fluctuations that can make it brittle and unstable. Your plate should not go into the mordant until at least half an hour has passed. Big ground dries fairly quickly, so it's best to clean your work area as soon as possible. Scrape up any extra ground and save it if there is enough, or discard it if there isn't. Coat the brayer, ink slab, and ink knife with baby oil. Wipe the ground off using paper towels. If the ground has dried, you may need to let the brayer sit for a bit with the oil on it before it will wipe off. And then degrease everything with some watered down dish soap. And dry with a paper towel.